Let's take you live to Ukraine now, and Joseph Lindsley. Joe, I was listening to a military analyst yesterday, and he gave quite a sobering assessment of this war. He said it's going to be a fight of drones, and more drones, and will be going on for a long, long time. I guess it's the war of the drones, isn't it?
Well, Bob, good afternoon from Kharkiv. And yes and no. I mean, for example, there are more stories today that promises from the United States that fighter jets will be sent by the end of the year, which is a little bit late. I mean, there's been all this time, especially since last fall, to prepare Ukraine. And at the beginning, the first months of the full-scale Russian invasion, Ukrainians were the best with the drones because as an innovative country, they had a large IT sector, but Russia has begun to catch up. And they've been able to see what Ukrainians did with drones. And so now by most stories I hear, the Russians have sort of more effective drone warfare, and they're able to use rather cheap drones to destroy very expensive equipment. And so this is in fact, there's even been in the city of Zhytomyr here in Ukraine, there was a protest a couple of days ago. Citizens were angry at the local government for spending money on city beautification and restoring old buildings instead of buying drones. Because regular citizens are scraping together to do everything they can to purchase drones. And that's a sign of a healthy democracy that there are protests, there's debate here in Ukrainian society. A side story of that is also, people have to keep living. And as I'm really reminded here in Kharkiv, I mean, every day when I run through the park, or I took a walk through it last night, and they keep it so perfect and beautifully maintained. Some donors pay for the zoo to be open here so that everyone can have a moment of peace and enjoy the wonderful zoo here in Kharkiv, in the garden in the center of the city. And you need things to keep going and to give yourself energy and a rest. But there is this urgent priority for equipment. And there's one reason why there's a focus on drones is because Ukrainians, they don't have the fighter jets. They don't have the major, they don't have enough Patriot missile batteries to defend Odessa, for example, which, by the way, the Russians hit Odessa region for the fourth night in a row. For 3 nights, they hit Odessa city. Then last night, everyone was expecting a big attack on the city, but instead the Russians hit targets within the region surrounding Odessa, including pea. They destroyed terminals full of peas and barley. And so they're going after the food supply here, food supply that would go all around the world. So this is... While we talk about drones, there's still the big question, will there be real support to give Ukraine everything that they need to go on the offensive against Russia? And meanwhile, people piece together everything they can to keep the warriors at the front lines alive and pushing back against the Russians, as we talked about this week. And then 2 days after I spoke to you about the landmines, that when I went to the demining academy, there was a big story in the Wall Street Journal about exactly that the Russians had months to prepare and lay these landmines down. And so it's a very painstaking process for Ukrainians to advance. But yet they still are advancing. And for example, today, we're working in a very micro level here. Everyone, it's all hands on deck, everyone to help. And thanks to some of our listeners here and others around the world, I was able to help people. We bought a Jeep for a married couple who signed up to fight. And they need not like a Jeep Wrangler, but just some kind of SUV. They call it Jeeps here, which this couple will use in the front line for all the work they're doing there. And then we also bought a rifle scope for a soldier who, before the full-scale invasion, he was a mountain guide in the Carpathian Mountains, and his name is Maxime. And he would, there's been a war going on in parts of Ukraine since 2014, when Russia first invaded and took the Crimean Peninsula and parts of Donbass. And Maxime had fought in some of those campaigns. And then when he became a civilian again, he created a therapy program in the mountains to guide, take soldiers, just to give them a week in the forest to recover. But when the Russians launched a full-scale invasion, Maxime signed up to fight once again. And, these guys at the front, they keep everyone informed, like what they need to win. And, a lot of times the equipment gets damaged in battle or destroyed or taken. And so we were able to buy Maxime a rifle scope. And so it's helping at the micro level. You have different organizations of people, really small communities throughout Ukraine, working to supply everyone in the best way possible. And importantly, with drones, most of the drones, there's a lot of smart people working now to manufacture drones in nearby Poland, even in Ukraine, because most of the drones now that are purchased are made in China. And the difficulty is when they're made in China, that you have to tinker with it because, we don't know for sure, but we know that China is sort of an ally of Russia. And the Chinese, if it's a drone made in China with the software, they can know where that drone is. They can use that technology against the Ukrainians. So when these Chinese-made Mavic drones are purchased, Ukrainian IT experts have to tinker with them to make sure that the Chinese cannot hack into them. So it's a very laborious process. Ukrainians are very good at it. And what I've heard, even that, I think I've mentioned this to you before, but defense contractors in the United States are jealous and perhaps a little bit angry that Ukrainians can take a $3,500 drone and make it as effective as a $25,000 or $50,000 drone sold by those companies in the United States.
Wow, very enterprising folks there. Our listeners are always texting and emailing this question. This is from Mary. Can Joseph tell us the best place to donate?
Yeah, well, in our case, and you can send to UkrainianFreedomNews.com, which is the website of our volunteer project. And right now, every week, we're working to supply specific individuals and units with what they need. So that the task for the next 7 days is to buy night scopes and night visions for soldiers in the counteroffensive. And so you can, UkrainianFreedomNews.com, click on the yellow banner, and we accept tax-deductible donations. Tax-deductible is very important to point out. Tax-deductible donations can support the purchase of trucks and drones, but for things like rifle scopes and the things that are actually used directly in battle, you can donate via PayPal. But we're not permitted under U.S. law to use anything that would be used actually in battle. Cannot be a tax-deductible donation. And this is sort of, these are all the little rules that Ukrainians have to work around, including the fact that, when missiles are sent from the West, they cannot be used to target places in Russian-controlled territory, technically even in Crimea, from which Russians attacked Odessa for the past 4 nights. Ukrainians still do not have permission officially to attack those Russian bases.
Let me leave you with this message. You'll like this. My husband and I were at a presentation at Stonebridge on Ukraine and wanted to let Joe know his video came across very well. It was very humbling and inspiring. Long live Ukraine.
Yeah, that was thanks to Jim I mispronounced his name the other day. I'm going to do it again. I'm so sorry. But Jim, who from Chicago, who came to volunteer with the Frontline Kitchen, Jim Gamache. And it sounds like it was a great event, and they raised money to support that kitchen that produces 20,000 meals a day for frontline soldiers. And this is, there's such, and especially the Americans that come here, they find such purpose here. I was talking with a friend here in Kharkiv, and he said for the couple years before the full-scale invasion, he was taking pills for depression. Not so common here, sort of in the American style. And he said he doesn't take them anymore. And I said, when did you stop taking the depression pills? He said February 24th, 2022, the day of the full-scale invasion. But he didn't realize it till days later. You're just so overcome with purpose and adrenaline.
Wow. And
when I talk with, everyone here has moments of struggle, but the people who are sort of saddest are the Americans who came here who've now left. Because they feel that and that's why so it's great to see people like Jim, not forgetting his experience here and rallying people in Chicago to do everything they can to support it and to bring that sense of purpose far beyond the Ukrainian borders.
And that's really something. Joseph, thanks as always, and I hope you can get some R&R this weekend. We'll talk to you Monday.
Thank you, Bob. Until Monday.
Thank you for introducing Ukraine on your social media pages. That's very important that much more people can get more information about the situation here and how everybody can help Ukraine to stay stronger and to save all the world.
Що він сказав?
Well, which side are you on?
На чиїй ти стороні?
Come on now. Oh, which side are you on?
На чиїй ти стороні?
світло.